Okay, so let's get started with Python. Okay, so we'll try to make a move. Okay, so like yesterday, we started with Python. Okay, and we understood what are the basic things which are available with Python. Like we understood the definition, we understood the declaration of variables, the different data types, how to write single statement, multiple line statement, how to do the comment for a single line and multi-line. Okay, and the different types of operators we have seen how to use the input function, we have seen how to format the output strings. Okay, so these were small things which we have seen yesterday. Okay, so let's make a progress of the session for Python. Okay, so today we'll try to understand how the decision making can be written in Python. Okay, and then loopings and so on. Let's see. So the first thing is, okay, so today we'll try to understand the decision making. Okay, now decision making, what does decision making means? Either you have to do this or either you will have to do that. Okay, it's simple as that. So decision making is nothing but the anticipation of a condition, okay, during the execution of a program, and you think or you specify some actions which needs to be taken. Either this happens, I should do this, either that happens, I should do this. Okay, so what does decision making to you is, to everyone is like, so decision making is the anticipation of conditions. Okay, conditions, let's of conditions occurring, I would say, during the execution of a program. Okay, and we can specify actions to be taken, and we can specify actions to be taken, okay, according to the conditions. Okay, so this is like what I am able to say when it comes to decision making. Okay, so either you can do yes or no. Okay, so decision like evaluation which should produce either yes or no result. Okay, so decision making either should produce either should produce yes or no. If we talk in terms of boolean, it could be true or false. Okay, so what are the decision statements which are being given to us by Python or any other languages? Okay, so people coming from various languages might be knowing this. Okay, so there are things like we are being given with if statement. So we are given with if statement, then we are given with if else statement. Okay, and also we have like nested if statement. So these are the statements which helps us to make some decisions based on certain conditions during the execution of the program. Either I can do this, or either can do that based on the conditions. That's what like decision making is. Okay, so we'll try to understand the different flows of the program for each decision making statement. Before that, if you remember yesterday, what we did is we have we had we had opened a Python 3 terminal, and we were executing all our commands over here. Like let's say today is second day of Python. We were executing and we were getting the results. So one of the method was interactive method, which I am trying to show, and the other was script. You were writing the script on a particular location and you were calling them. Okay. So today what we will try to do is, today we'll try to use a Jupyter notebook. Again, it's your call. There are no restrictions like you have to use this, you have to use that, and you have to use that only. I'm showing all the possible scenarios which you can make use of, which are available in this virtual machine. Rest is your call, how you feel confident and comfortable with which environment. Okay. So if you want to open a Jupyter notebook, okay, so you'll have to just type Jupyter. notebook. Okay, and automatically, let me enhance the size so that, okay, so automatically you will be getting this pop-up, okay, because it's installed on the port 8888. What you can do is you might have created a LFS directory. It's up to you. You can just create a new folder here also. Okay, what you can do is you can create a new folder over here. Let's create a new folder if you want, like let's say, and there is that's a small thing, unnamed thing. If you see this untitled folder, okay, so this is just click on that, and what you can do is here, or let's come back. Let's go to the respective folders, which I always say. Always go to the LFS folder. Okay, under LFS folder, what you can do is you can create a new folder, and you can say my Python practice, so that whenever you have to find information, you will be finding all the information at a certain or at a one point. Again, it's your call. You can create at multiple locations also, no restrictions. So what we will do is under LFS folder, we'll try to create a new folder. Okay, and we'll try to rename this folder first. Okay, let's rename this, and let's say this is my batch 8 Python. You can name anything of your choice. That's your call. Okay, under this folder, what you can do is you can create your Python notebooks. Okay, so if you just click on Python 3, okay, a notebook will open. And in the similar fashion, like how you were executing your commands yesterday, or just while a little while I showed, so Python 3, in a similar fashion, you can execute your command in Jupyter Notebook also. So let's say this is Jupyter Notebook ID. Okay, if you want to execute this, so there is a run. Okay, so you can run this and you will be getting the results instantly in an interactive way. If you see this number, okay, it signifies that your command has been executed, okay, and it keeps on incrementing sequentially. If I execute this again, it will increment. Okay, sometimes what will happen is you might be writing some memory optimized or storage optimized codes. Okay, at that moment of time, this code will be in the running mode. At that moment of time, you will be seeing a asterisk over here. When you see asterisk over here, okay, it means that whatever instructions you have sent, they are getting executed. Okay, so be patient till the time it executes your command. Okay, and we'll see all these things. Okay, so this is to add a new cell, this is to remove a cell. Okay, then again, like you just hover over this, copy, paste. If you want to move this cell down, or if you want to move this cell up, we have already seen this run. Okay, so interrupt the kernel if you want to stop the kernel. Okay, refresh, and finally restart the kernel. Okay, and here, like if you want to make some headings, okay, so you can make use of those things, but most of the time we'll try to write the code. But yes, if you want to write something and make that as, let's say, this is my heading. I did not change the word. Okay, so it is not acted as a command. Okay, so you can make that heading, or else you can make that as a markdown. Whatever you want to do, you can play with this notebook. Okay, so basic things I just wanted to show you, so that once you start playing with this notebook, you'll come to know more things. The second or the third most important thing is, okay, uh, you will not be getting a, like in how, when once you go to PyCharm ID, okay, whenever you write the commands, you get the auto suggestions. Okay, so here you'll not be getting, like, let's say I'm trying to I'm trying to create some list. Okay, let's say list equals to, let's say, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 or 5 or whatever. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to create a list. Now let me execute this first. Okay, now in this list there are multiple methods which are available, which may might be able to see today if time permits, or we'll see next Saturday. So there are multiple methods which are available with different data structures like strings, tuples, list, dictionary. Okay, so as soon as you press dot, if you see, it is not getting auto popped up. Okay, if you want that function to be enabled, okay, I'll share you one command after the session. You just need to enable that or follow that instructions, and you should be able to do that in your ID. Okay, that is Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so few basic instructions if you want to play with your ID I've already given. So again, like, if you face any issues or encounter any issues or you're getting stuck, do let us know in the WhatsApp group. We'll try to help. Okay, so let's come back and let's get started. So here the only challenge for me would be the navigation, because once I go down, okay, I'll have to play with my horizontal bar and vertical scroll bar. Let's see how I can play with that. Cool, let's get started. So the if statement. Okay, so the name if statement is suggest. Okay, so if statement is used to test a particular condition. What it is used for? It is used for testing a particular condition, and if the condition is true, okay, what it does is it executes a piece of code, or it executes your block of code. Okay, that's what it says. So it's always like with the Boolean evaluation that will be happening on the expression of the statement which you will be writing in your decision making statements or decision making blocks, which could be if, or it could be if else, or it could be if inside if, that is nested if. Okay, so when we say about the syntax of if expression or if statement, is it's just like if you need to specify all your expressions over here, whatever you want to test. Okay, and then you need to write if that expressions are meeting or if the conditions are meeting or not meeting. Okay, so based on that, what statements needs to be executed or not executed. Okay, that's how your syntax would be. Okay, so if we try to write a very simple example, okay, which we generally have seen. Okay, like how to check the number is even number or odd number. Okay, so what we will try to do is we'll try to take a input from a user, right? And we have seen this yesterday as an input function. So we'll try to take a input from the user, and I'll ask him, please enter the number. As the input function, okay, will give me a string. Okay, so I'm converting that to an integer because I am expecting a number from a user. And I'll be writing a if block or if statement or if decision making statement. If my number, which is whatever the user is entering, which is modulus of 2, if you remember, like yesterday we have seen this operator. If that is modulus of 2, which the remainder is equal to 0, okay, so I need to do something. What you need to do is the number, okay, given is odd, sorry, even. Okay, so you can make use of your format statement also. If you want to write each statement in a new cell, you can do that also. It's your call how you write the code. Okay, one advantage you will feel over here is Okay, you don't need to bother about the indentation. Okay, so id is smart enough to take care of that, like how we were facing a little challenge when we were trying to give some instructions while defining the function in python in the terminal. So that challenge will be eradicated over here. As soon as you enter, it automatically captures your indentation. You just need to keep on writing the statements. Okay, and if you execute the statement, it is prompting us for some number. Okay, so let's try to enter some number. I'm not getting any results because the condition is not evaluated to true. Okay, so let's execute this again. Again, it is asking for some number, and let's try to enter some even number. Okay, so the number given by the user was 20. Okay, and that is like a even number. Yesterday we have seen the output format, if you recall. So the placeholder can be embedded in the output also. If you want to capture this variable in this format statement, in this output statement, we can do that also. Okay, and can someone suggest me like how I can do this, how I can do this, like yesterday I have shown. I want to say, okay, so the number colon, and I want to, whatever the user is entering that number, I need to show over here in the print statement. So what we will do,
Bracket. Curly brackets?
bracket, which bracket, parenthesis or
No, curly
curly
brackets.
braces, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what after that?
Comma, some position.
So
Dot
comma,
dot form no dot format.
format. Inside format, what I
Yeah,
need to specify?
num.
Num.
No,
You have to
no. It's
put
a
a dot
dot
rather than a
format,
comma.
not comma.
Sorry. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to enter the number 20 given is odd. So start writing your format, means like from today onwards, I'm handing over the assignments. Okay, start making use of all those things whatever we're trying to learn. So start getting habitual while writing the code. Okay, that's where your practice will come, and slowly you'll understand how to play with the code here and there. Okay, cool. So that was the first instruction which we have seen today. Okay, so just to handle your if statement. Okay, so now if you remember a little while earlier, when I was trying to enter the number other than the even, okay, I was not able to get some output. Okay, and that's where your second construct or your second decision making will be able to help you. If this condition is not meeting true, then it should have a other scenario, and I should handle that. Okay, and that will be handled through if else statement. Okay, now what we can do is we can take the same input from a user. Okay, please be on mute once you're done. And what we'll try to do is we'll try to take the same piece of code. Okay, and let's give some spaces. When I'm trying to do this, okay, so when a user is not entering a even number, okay, so let's say he's trying to enter some number other than the even, I need to handle that or I need to capture that. So that's where like your else instructs or else statement will be coming into picture. I do either this, do either that. Okay, so I'll simply write the given number. Okay, so the given number is odd. Okay, and we can just simply copy this simple code which we have written, and we'll try to execute the same again. It is giving us a prompt, enter some number, and let's enter some number, and now it is able to capture, okay, this is my odd number. Let's say I'm trying to enter, let's say 90. It is telling me odd number. Let's say I'm trying to enter -1. Sorry, my mistake. So I should not have done over here. So let's go over here and let's enter -1. Okay, so again now it is telling you odd. But again, like if you're trying to enter some negative number or number other than the positive, again you need to handle something based on the scenarios. Okay, so it depends like how you handle the data or how you write the code. Okay, based on requirement. As of now, we are just going with simple instructions. Once we move ahead a little later, so on top of this again we will be writing exception handlings, and we'll try to do all the possible scenarios. Okay, someone is not on mute. Okay, thank you. Cool. So any questions on your if else block? No. Okay, cool. If no questions, there can be scenarios. Okay, so I am testing certain if conditions, but there could be like, okay, if this is not happening, again I need to check one more if. Okay, so we can write multiple if statements also. So they are nothing but your elif statements. Okay, what happens in your elif statement is, it gives us the ability. Okay, or it yeah, let's say it enables, or the elif statement, okay, enables us or gives us the flexibility, okay, to check multiple conditions. Okay, the name itself suggests, and execute the code, or execute the specific block of statements, okay, depending upon conditions evaluated to true or false, evaluated to yes or no. Okay, so we can have as many number of elif statements. There are no restrictions that you need to have only this and that. There are no restrictions. You can write based on your requirement. How the construct would be, or how the syntax would be, it's similar to your if else. Not if else, like your if. The only thing is like you'll be keep on adding your elif again and again. So I'll just keep, and I'll just write elif over here. Okay, so sorry, let me copy this, and let's keep pasting this couple of times. And finally we can, if there is a requirement, you can write else also. Okay, so elif gives you a flexibility to check multiple conditions. Okay, again based on like one by one or nested if. Again you'll have to decide how do I need to check that based on the requirement. Okay, so this is like going line by line as an interpreter. Okay, so condition by condition. But again, like nested if will check this condition and will go inside that condition. Okay, so you'll have to think on those terms. Okay, so let's test, or let's write one small program to test whether like are we able to construct a small program, okay, based on multiple if condition. So there's like always a famous program, or always a common program which we generally try to see whenever we are trying to write multiple elif statements in any languages. Okay, so that is like checking the marks of the students. Okay, so what we will do is let's try to take the marks as an input from a user. Okay, so that will be an integer which will be on top of my input function. Okay, so what I will say is please enter the marks, whoever is using this. So there are certain criterias in the education level. Okay, so if we are talking in terms of India, so like SSC secondary school secondary board. Okay, so if your marks fall between like less than 35, you are considered to be in a negatives, that is nothing but failed. From 35 to maybe like 50 or 60, you're considered to be a grade A. From 60 to 75, you're considered to be, let's take C, and then 60 to 75 you're considered to be B, and from 75 to 90, let's say A, and from 90 to 100, let's say A plus. Okay, based on the grades, whatever the percentage you are trying to get, I need to define some marks. So there are multiple conditions which are needs to be tested. Okay, so if these conditions are popping up, so then you can make use of your elif statements. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to construct a small program that is nothing but if my marks is let's say if it is greater than 85, okay, and marks is less than or equals to let's say 100. Okay, so this is the first scenario. Okay, so what I would say is print some statement. Okay, let's say I'm trying to say congrats. Okay, you have achieved, let's say you have achieved. Okay, so you have achieved, and whatever grade you want to define, so let's say you have achieved grade A plus. Okay, so let's quickly do copy paste just to move a little quicker, and we will just change the statements as per the requirement. Okay, so what we have done is we have written one small if statement, and then we are trying to check multiple conditions. Okay, let's say if this is greater than 65, greater than 65, whatever the number could be. Okay, that's your call. And let's say is less than or equal to 85, because we have already considered it is greater than this. So here what we can say is 60 to 85. Let's say we are considering this as B. Okay, and let's consider this as A. Let's quickly do a copy paste of this elif statement, and let's give some mark which will be, let's say, greater than 35. Okay, and let's say this is to 65. And finally, the else block, what we will say is whatever the conditions well, if the user means like if the marks are being entered less than or equals to, so this should have been greater than 35, less than 35. Yeah, so if the marks is less than, we will say greater than equals to, at least we will give a C grade to him. Okay, so if it is less than 35, so we will say okay, you have failed. So we will instruct that, so sorry, you failed. Okay, so now if you see in this elif statements, what we are trying to do is, okay, we are trying to handle multiple conditions. Okay, so let's copy this piece of code, let's go over here and let's paste this. Okay, and let's execute this piece of block. It is asking us to enter some number. Let's enter first the negative number. It is telling okay, I have failed. Okay, that's good. So let's try to test with, let's say, 55. Okay, it is giving me a grade C. Let's try to give some 92. Okay, sorry, the same mistake. So let's give a grade of 95, and it is giving me okay, you have achieved a grade A. Okay, so it's like very writing the code, it's like simple. Okay, when it comes to Python, that's why if you remember earlier, or if you remember yesterday, we have seen few features why Python. So Python is easy to learn and easy to write as compared to other programming languages. When it comes to syntactically writing the code, okay, if you wanted to achieve the same piece of code, may it be in like Java or C++ or maybe in other language, at least it could have been more than this. Whatever the number of lines we are trying to write here, at least it would have been greater than this for sure. That is the first thing. Second things, you'll have to always follow a syntactical sugar over there. Whereas when it comes to Python, okay, here also you'll have to follow, but it gives a better readability because all the codes are similar to your English statements. Okay, so that's why Python is a little renowned as of now in the market, and also like it has a huge support with great libraries which are available. You don't have to reinvent those libraries, just make use of them and start working and achieve the requirement. Okay, so this is nothing but your elif statement. When it comes to nested statement, oh sorry, when it comes to if inside if, that is nothing but your nested if. Okay, when we talk about nested if statement, so mm, there may be situation like when you want to check for another condition, okay, only only after a certain condition is evaluated to true. Okay, now if you see, as soon as this condition is meeting, okay, it is printing this and it is coming out. That is what actually is happening in this entire flow. Someone should have asked that how the flow is executing. Maybe the crowd is knowledgeable, so I'm assuming that. Okay, so the as soon as like the conditions are met, okay, or evaluated to yes or true, okay, it is giving the output for that and moving out of the code. Okay, so this is like checking the condition one after the other until unless it is mating to true, else no. But there can be some scenarios. Okay, so let's say if my country is equal to India, then my state should be Maharashtra, and in Maharashtra I need to do a certain check based on the certain cities. That's how the validation, if you want to apply, then you'll have to check whether my outer if is able to give a decision as a true or not. So that's where you'll have to put a thinking hat. Okay, how do I need to frame my code, whether it could be multiple elif or it could be a nested if. That's where the justification which I wanted to give you. So whenever like nested if, there may be a situation when you want to check for another condition. Let's write that. So there can be scenario, okay? There can be scenario, okay, where you can check for other conditions, okay, where you can check for other conditions, okay, um, only after, or let's say, yeah, only after my previous condition, okay, evaluates to true. Okay, so in such conditions you can think of nested. Okay, so nested if construct or nested if inside elif, whatever how the statement comes, you'll have to do. So the same piece of code what we have written a little while earlier, I think we have written like this. We can take this also, any piece of code you can take. So we'll take this piece of code like which is already pre-written. Let's copy this piece of code and let's come over here and let's paste this over here. Now what we are trying to do is we are taking an input from a user and he or she is entering one number. We'll try to test whether that number is like a positive number or if it is like something like greater than or nothing, something like that. So if my number which a user is entering, okay, if that is greater than 0, okay, what I need to do is I need to do all these things. Okay, and if it is not, I need to instruct the user. Okay, so enter the number, or please enter the number greater than 0. Whatever instructions you need to provide to the user, you can provide those instructions. Okay, so I'm just quickly doing a copy paste of this code and pasting it over here. Okay, what I'll do is I'll copy this piece of code and let's hit a tab so that the indentation is achieved. Okay, so if you see the first condition, what we are trying to test is if a number is greater than 0, then only try to do the validation on or try to evaluate the code. If the number is not positive, no need to check the code which I have written because anyhow that won't be validating it. So do the else. So something like that. Okay, if inside if, so that is nothing but your nested if. So if only if my previous condition is satisfied to be true or yes, go and evaluate my further code and so on. Okay, So if we just try to execute this piece of code and let's try to enter -5 and it is instructing us, okay, please enter the number greater than 0. Okay, and let's try to test, like let's say I'm trying to enter 50, it is giving me even, and sorry, and let's try to test one more time and let's say 99. Okay, so the given number is odd. So again, like it depends like how you are writing your code based on the requirement. Okay, that will always play a role. Okay, the constructs are given everywhere in the same manner. The only thing is, when you're trying to learn Java, when you're trying to learn Python, when you're trying to learn C++, okay, the constructs or the syntaxes vary or the writing style vary, but the underlying code or the logical stuff remains the same. Okay, so that's where, like, once we start writing the code, okay, so you should use all these constructs in PySpark coding. That's where, like, all these instructions are being given to you. Okay, any questions in your if, elif, and nested if statements? No questions? Seems to be good. Or is it like a boring session which is going? I hope like we are at least
No
like,
question. No, sir.
okay, cool. Chalo. No issues. I know like it's like again it's a little basic. So this week you will feel okay, maybe from next week onwards, like when we start with data structures and then maybe handling different files and the error handling, you might feel a little interest. No issues. That is expected. Chalo, let's make a move. Okay. So there are certain scenarios, okay, at those scenarios we need to repeat my conditions again and again. That's where your loops come into picture and they try to help us. Okay, so what are loops? Loops are nothing but statements. Okay, loops are nothing but statements which are executed sequentially, sequentially, okay, and repeatedly until unless to a point, I can say. Okay, so what are loops? Loops are nothing but statements which are executed sequentially and repeatedly until unless to a point, okay, or until unless to a condition is met, or condition is like expired, anything like based on like your understanding. Okay, so again here the evaluation is of boolean, like whether either true or false or yes or no. Okay, but the loops which are given to us is nothing but your, we have a for loop. Okay, then we have a while loop, and then we have a do while loop. Okay, similar to your other loop, other programming. Okay, so for loop, again the differentiation between for loop and while loop, we might be knowing this. Okay, so for loop tries to, again, like it tries to iterate over the certain conditions, okay, till that condition is met. Okay, but when we talk about while, it first tests the condition and then it goes to execute the piece of statement. Okay, we'll try to see that. Okay, so let's try to write for loop. Okay, so the for loop is used in the case like let's say, where we need to execute some part of the code until the given condition is satisfied. Okay, so for loop is also called, what we can say is like pre-tested loop. Okay, it does not test like your previous condition directly, it goes check the condition and goes inside. Okay, but when it comes to while loop, it checks the condition, and if the condition is to be true, then only it'll try to move ahead. Okay, that's just a small differentiation. Let's take a small example. Okay, let's say we'll try to write a small program to find the of sum of all numbers. Okay, sum of all numbers, let's say, stored in a list. Okay, so let's say this is a small scenario given to us. What we need to do is we need to find the sum of all numbers. Okay, so I'll try to take all the numbers in a given list And let's say the list is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the final is 10. Okay, so I have defined a list. What I need to do is I need to find out the sum of all numbers. Okay, so what we will do is we'll try to write a loop. We'll try to write, because see, if you remember yesterday, I was talking about the iterable object. Okay, iterable objects are nothing but the object on which we can traverse element by element. So if you see, list is an iterable object. In this list, we can have elements of same and different types. It's mutable. We have seen all these things yesterday. Again, we will be seeing. So all the elements are separated by a comma. Okay. So what we will do is we'll try to traverse on all elements one by one. Okay. So what we will do is we'll try to write a loop with for. Okay. So let's say I'm trying to write for val, or let's say for a in number. Okay. So for a in number, I am trying to write sum is equals to sum plus val. Okay. And I'm trying to write a small print statement. And let's say I would say the sum is, let's give a space, and let's give the curly braces and sum. If you remember a little while earlier, I showed you, or someone gave me a suggestion to do this. What we were trying to do, we were trying to do a format. If you don't want to use this format over here, the other way could be you can just specify f over here, and you can specify your reference identifier in your curly braces in place of your empty braces. This is the other way round to handle that. Okay, so let's try to test this piece of code, and if there are any issues, we'll try to work on those issues. Okay, so let's execute this. So it is telling invalid syntax. Okay, so now if you see, it is pointing over here. Okay, but the one thing which I can identify is I have not defined this sum. Let's see now what it is giving us. Let's execute. Okay, so still it is giving me. Okay, so what we are trying to do is,
Do we need to
Did you
mention
define
comma
val?
do we need
before
to?
curly braces? Mention comma before curly braces?
No, no. Just 1 second. I'm just trying to see the code. So I'm trying to define a list. I'm trying to do this, or I'm trying to iterate on this, and then finally what I'm trying to do is sum
I
plus
think
What
val.
now
was
it
the
will work.
val?
Now it
Is
will
A.
work.
Then I'm just
Can
trying
you
to
replace val
We
by
have
A?
given
val is not defined.
iterator as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll just
Yeah,
change
you
that.
should put A.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll just change to A. Okay, cool. So the mistake, see again, like it's like whenever you try to write the code, you will always get issues, and just try to understand and just try to rectify those things. Okay. So if you remember a little while earlier, I was trying to show this. Okay, so I had written this double quotes, and then I had written my reference variable or the identifier. But when you are trying to use the formats with the F keyword, okay, so everything is like coming inside the double quotes. That was the first mistake which I was trying to make. Because of that, my code was not working. Second mistake which I was trying to do is, okay, I was trying to iterate on the iterable object that is a list, okay, but I was using some other variable over here which was not a. Okay, so that was the couple of mistakes which I was trying to do and rightly identified by people. We rectified that and we got the solution. Okay, so now if you see in this code, what we have done is we have used a for loop to iterate on a list. Okay, to iterate on a list element by element. Okay, and finally we have done the summation of all the numbers which were available in this list. Okay, so it's like how you try to write your code. Okay, so this is just a small example which I have demonstrated of a for loop. There could be multiple examples. Okay, let's take one example like let's take of printing a table. Okay, let's say I want to
Say one question.
yes, yes.
You put semicolon to means that is the end of the statement, right? Uh, like
Here,
for I in number semicolon,
yes,
it is end of the statement, right?
semicolon or
Uh,
colon.
sorry, it's number. It's colon.
Yeah.
So means for every statement we need to put this. How will we identify where to put
So
this
whenever
colon?
whenever you are trying to use some loopings or condition based statements, at that moment of time you will be writing your colon symbol. Other than that,
So sum equal to sum plus a. This is also my one statement.
no. But
So how
again, this will be like you'll have to decide a logical base. So see, now this is a loop which will be getting iterated, right? So like loopings or if statements or while loops, or again there will be like lambda expressions which we will be writing. So they will be needed to be tested, right? So these are like my conditions. These are nothing but my expressions which will be getting iterated over and again. So that's why like the indentation will be happening over here. Okay,
so something like if I am using some keywords, there I need to
you
put
can take that also
colon.
reserved keyword, but not to all reserved keywords you can make use of that. That's where I did not use the keyword value also word also. If I say that, because if you remember yesterday, like we were trying to test like operators, so we were using some reserved keywords, but not all reserved keywords will be able to signify that. So it's like some statement, some expressions or repeating expressions where you need to test something, okay, before evaluating or before performing the execution or before performing the logic. At that moment of time you can think, okay, I indent that. But as a programmer, okay, so if you're coming from some language, okay, so may it be like Java, C++, if you see every statement, like we need to like terminate by semicolon or mostly like semicolon. So in a similar fashion you will have to see in terms of Python also. Okay. Okay, so uh, there is one function, okay, and that function is nothing but range. Okay, let's see range function. Okay, so range, like we can sometimes there could be some scenarios where we need to see. Now I have written 1 to 10 over here, but I cannot write like 1 to 1000 or 1 to 10,000, because it will consume or occupy a lot of human effort. Okay, so at that moment of time there is a function which gives us a flexibility, okay, to generate those kind of numbers, and that we have with the help of a range function. Okay, what you can do is you can write a range function and generate some numbers. It's a very simple. You just need to use a print statement or with the help of for loop, or however mostly we'll try to, because when we'll try to do some let's say if I want to do some, let's first I'll show you print statement and then I'll come to the range word. Okay, so let's say I want to make a list. Okay, in that list I need to give a range of let's say, can I give 1 to 10? Let's give 1 to 10. Okay, let's see, control C and control V. Okay, if I'm the list object is not callable. ठीक है, so let's, what we'll do is mm, range of, let's say 1 comma 10. Okay, and let's say if I'm trying to do a print on top of that, okay, and then what I will try to do is list should work on top of this. That's what. Okay, so if it is not working like this, what we will do
Do you
is
want to try
for loop.
with the square brackets? The list with square brackets? No, one internal one. I think. And
So
close
this
the
is
round
getting
bracket.
closed, and this is my
And
print
yeah.
statement. List must be indices. अरे यार, see मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ, range ले रहा हूँ 1 to 10, ठीक है, उसको मैं print कर रहा हूँ. So print करूँगा तो वो range 1 to 10 as it is देगा. But मैं इसको list कर रहा हूँ.
And
I think the list is not in the that session.
नहीं यार, I am
I say actually the same command is working in my system. Not sure why.
okay. Or maybe the kernel is interrupted. So let me restart the kernel. Okay, let's do a quick restart of kernel. Sometimes it can happen. Okay, so it sometimes like maybe like the end connection. But if you see that command is working, but it's like sometimes it's a weird issue. Let's execute this piece of code. So let's change this to back to my curly braces. Oh, sorry, open parenthesis to be precise. End of the line. Okay, let's close that as well. Okay, now it is giving. Okay, so I think the kernel got stopped, something that happened. Okay, so now what we are trying to do is we are trying to take a range of 1 to 10 and we are converting that to a list and printing that. Okay, so in place of this we could have used that also. Straight away write that and make use of that. Okay, so that's where like you can make use of this function, and it is a handy function which will help most of the time to you. Okay, cool. There could be scenarios like if you want to iterate and print something over and over, you can do many things. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to write, so let's say Jenna, and here in the list what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to define three elements. Let's say, okay, let's say in spite of Jenna, let's say names. Okay, so let's say the first, please, if I'm making a typo error, so please excuse. So let's say I'm trying to write Preetpal. Okay, so let's say we are trying to write, let's say Sandeep. Okay, and let's say we are trying to write, let's say Mitali. Okay, let's say these are three names which we have written. Okay, and what we are trying to do is we are trying to iterate on this list. Okay, so what we can do is now, if you see, there are two things which you always have to remember when you are trying to do a iterable. Okay, the first thing is, do you want element as a value? That is the first thing. Okay, second thing is, do you want index, or sorry, I should have said that, do you want to iterate using the index over the iterable object, or do you want to iterate using element over the iterable object? Okay, so here if you see, we have used element by element. Now here I'm trying to make use of my range function for I in range. Okay, and I'm trying to find out the length of this control C, and I'm trying to find a length of this. Okay, so the length of is 3. Okay, so in the indexing starts from 0, 1 and 2. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to write a small for loop. Okay, and I'm trying to write a print statement. Okay, so where I'm trying to say, okay, so my, let's say, not my names are, okay, and we will try to say, let's say, names of I. Okay, whenever we try to write this, okay, how we pronounce this, names of whatever the iterable we are trying to get in some variable or some identifier. Okay, so we are referencing over here. Okay, so length of this, it is nothing but 3. Indexing start from 0, 1, 2. So 0 is nothing but here, so I here you will be getting 0, so here I will be getting that, and so on it will work. Okay, so it just like showing you the different scenarios. Okay, कुछ तो गलत हो गया. So for I in names, I should have missed. I think I have missed my comma. So let's execute this piece of code. So names are nothing but my Preetpal, Sandeep, and Mitali. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to iterate on the iterable object, which is nothing but a list. But that iterable which I am trying to do is using a index value. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to use a index value. Okay, so that's like the differentiation between index and element. So are we able to understand the iterable over index or element? Because this will be very important moving ahead, because you need to, again, like there will be scenarios where you will make a call, okay, do I need to make use of my indexes for my further code, or do I need to make use of my elements as a value for further code? So that is what I'm trying to make you all understand over here. Are we able to understand that point? Iterating through indexes or iterating through actual values as an element? Yes, no,
Yes, sir.
cool. So let's take
Yes, sir.
yeah, thanks, Saurabh and all. So let's take one more example, okay, and then we'll try to move ahead. Let's say I want to print a table from 1 to 10, okay, and that table could be of anything which a user is entering that. Okay, so what I can simply write is I can take input from a user. Okay, so we'll take that a quick copy paste. Chalo, let's write that. So num equals to int. Okay, and we will try to take an input from a user. So let's say enter the number. Okay, now again I'm applying a loop. Okay, for I in num. Okay, नम जरूरत नहीं. I think I'll have to go to a range, right? Because मेरे को 1 to 10 तक print करना है, right? So what I will do is I will go to for 1 into range, okay, and then I'll say 1 to 11, okay, um, and and 2 3 4, and I'm trying to make a print statement, okay. Here now I'm trying to play with some I play with some, what do you call this? So these are called nothing but the placeholders, or the in other languages you might be calling this like format specifiers. Okay, so for digit we have D, for string we have S, for float we have F, and so on. Okay, so what here I'm trying to write is I'm trying to write percent D, okay, which is nothing but a digit. This is, as this is enclosed in double quotes, so I'm trying to write X, so that will give me a multiplication symbol. Again I'm trying to use D, that will, sorry, again I'm trying to use D, that will give me a digit. Okay, so 1 into 1 equal to, okay, and 1 into 1 equal to, and then finally again I will get one digit, right? So this is what I am able to get. Okay, and then what I will try to do is, okay, so I'll try to use my percent specifier. So this, and okay, so this number will be nothing but my user which is entering. So let's say a user wants to see a table of 5, so this number will be constant, right? So the constant number is means like, again, so this is like I am writing it over here. So number, now if you see 5 ones are 5, 5 twos are 10, and so on. So this is incrementing, right? So this is coming from range, and that value is coming in this I, right? So I will use that I over here. So number I, and this is nothing but multiplication of this, that is nothing but simply I will try to write is number into I. Okay, and let's copy this small piece of code, and let's run this. Okay, so it is giving some red mark, indentation issues. So let's make it back and hit enter. Okay, and let's execute this piece. It is asking some number, let's enter a number as 3. Okay, so it is giving us some values. that is nothing but whatever we have written. Okay, so depends like how you use your for loop, okay, based on what scenarios. Okay, so I hope like I'm making a sense to the condition statement and the looping which we started. Okay, so let's take a break of 5 minutes, and let's meet after 5 minutes. Okay, so let's make a progress. Okay, so we started understanding like looping statements. Okay, so we are trying to understand loops. Okay, so the first thing is like we started with for loop. Okay, so in for loop we try to understand with a couple of programs. The second thing is like we understood like how to use a range function, and we can make use of like iterable elements or using an indexes. Okay, that's what couple of things which we have seen. Okay, now there can be scenarios like sometimes like you need to use like your, it's like sometimes you'll have to uh, mm, okay, so what I am trying to say is, okay, so like there is one like a break statement. Okay, so break statement, does anyone has idea like what does break statement does?
It exits a loop.
It exits the loops, and as soon as the condition or the value which it is trying to test, it is met, right?
Right.
Right, so that's your break statement. Okay, so in Python, okay, so Python supports one more loop also. Okay, so that is for loop with else. Okay, now this is one of the extra thing which Python is giving a support, or Python is providing something extra. If you see with other languages, we do not see this kind of construct, but in Python we do have that construct. Okay, so for else with loop. Okay, so a for loop can also have an else block, and else is nothing but an optional block. Okay, so the else part is executed, okay, if the items in the sequence of the for loop gets exhausted. So, okay, so let me write something. A for loop can have else as an optional block, else as an optional block. Okay, so the else part is executed, the else part is executed if the items or if the elements in the sequence are exhausted. Okay, so what I was saying is we can use the break statement as someone said. So the break keyword, okay, is used to stop the loop of execution, stop the loop, or stop the loop, which you can say. Okay, so the break keyword is nothing but, as the name itself suggests, if we try to drive a bike, or if try to drive a car, how we apply a brake so that the momentum or the speed of the vehicle gets interrupted with some brake. In a similar fashion, when we are trying to iterate over a loop, okay, which is nothing but a for loop, if we want to restrict or if we want to stop that, we can make use of break statement. Okay, first of all, let's understand how your for else, again, it's nothing but, so it's just like, let's say there are 3 digits in a list. Okay, and those are nothing but, let's say 0, let's say any number, let's say 4, let's say 2, any number. I'm trying to take that, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to iterate on this list. Okay, and I'm trying to do print of that, and I'm trying to write with for loop, I'm trying to write a else statement, and I'm trying to say one more print that is telling me all all elements are used or exhausted. Okay, so you can make use, if you want, with for loop you can make use of your else block also. Okay, so this is like one extra thing like which I have seen in Python. Okay, as compared to other languages. So let's execute this, and again it should give me 042 and all elements are exhausted. So this is an optional else block. If you want to use this with a for loop, you can use, else no calls. Okay. Now let's see how we can make use of a break statement. Okay, so the break which I was trying to show, which is nothing to stop the loop. Okay, so the break keyword is used to stop the loop. Okay, so we'll try to understand same program with and without break statement. Okay, so what we'll do is, let's say, mm, let's try to define some names. Okay, names equals to, or name equals to, let's say name equals to, and let's say I'm trying to give some name that is, let's say, Ram. Okay, and let's say I'm trying to define some marks equals to, and let's say I'm trying to define a dictionary. Okay, so let's say Ram is having some mark, let's say he's having, let's say, 80. Okay, then let's say we have Aniket. Okay, let's say Aniket is having 90. Okay, and let's say finally we are having Saif, and let's say Saif has 40. So what I've done is I've defined a dictionary. I've defined an identifier which is holding a string type data that is nothing but Ram. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to apply a loop. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is, so let's say, this is the marks, okay, on which I will be iterating. Okay, so if you remember yesterday's session, okay, if you want to fetch the values from a dictionary, so we need to take the keys, right? Based on the keys we will be getting the values. That's what we have seen yesterday, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to iterate on your marks. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to iterate on an iterable object that is nothing but marks. 2 3 4, and I'm trying to write a condition. If in place of I, let's write a meaningful name that is nothing but a student. Let's say student. Okay, if student equals to your name, and here we will try to write, let's say, student name. That will all give a good naming convention also. So let's say I'm trying to student, and let's remove. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do copy paste, and I'm to write. So I'm trying to take some variable and I'm trying to iterate over a dictionary, and I'm trying to check whether that value which is coming in this dictionary, okay, if that is equal to the value which I have supported or assigned. Okay, if that condition is true, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if that condition is true, so what I need to do is I need to print my marks. Okay, marks of what? Marks of student. It means that in this, let's say if Ram is coming, so this Ram equals to Ram if it is matching. So based on the key, I need to get a value. If you remember yesterday, when I was trying to define a dictionary, and if I wanted to find a value 90, I was writing marks of Aniket, that is key. Based on key, I was getting value. So in a similar fashion, I'm writing it over here. Okay. And finally, I'll try to write a else statement, and I'm trying to write print. Let's say no entry found. Anything. It's like just for. So let's say I'm trying to use this small piece of code, and let's see whether this is doable or not. Okay. Indentation looks good. Let's execute this. Okay. So
Seth, I think indentation of else should be just after if, correct? It should be part of loop.
again, if you want to use with if, you can use with if you want to use with for, you want to use with for. I have
Okay,
used,
okay,
it's like, again,
okay,
I have used with for, but there is no
okay,
restriction sort of, like you cannot make use, like if you want to make this part of your if, you can do that also, no restrictions.
okay, okay,
I
okay.
have made use like with of my for loop. as I'm demonstrating for else.
I just joined, so I think I
Nahin,
just
nahin,
missed that.
nahin, nahin, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. That's correct. So again, like it's just how you have a different mindset and I have a different mindset. It's like how I am presenting, but like you were expecting these things. So it's again a different creative minds. Okay. Okay. So let's come back. So what we are trying to do is, but why we are not getting this? Okay, we got the output. Sorry. So if you see, when we are trying to get RAM, okay, so once the condition is assigned, okay, I don't want that my else part to be executed, okay. So at that moment of time, so if you see in this, I'm getting my output also, which is nothing but RAM. So RAM has a marks of 80. I got that answer, but it is going to my else part also, which rightly identified by Saurabh. Okay, either you can push it inside your if, or else what you can do is you can use your break statement. Okay, so if I execute this piece of code, okay, I'm getting it. So again, how you are writing the code and how you want to make your code work, it's all depends like how the scenarios are there, how requirements are there, and how a developer mind is going. Okay, so my terms of thinking went into other way, and so Saurabh's way of thinking went to other way. Okay, so that's how like you can make use of your constructs. Okay, so this is your for loop. And again, like let's take one scenario, let's take one more scenario in for loop. Okay. Yeah, let's take a good example. Like generally, you might be seeing this. Okay, it's a very like easy example, but again, like so if you know this pattern printing, right? One, two, one, two, and three, and then one, two, three, and four, and one, two, three, four, and five. Okay, so let's say there is a requirement to print the sorry to print the below pattern. Okay, let's say this is a requirement, I want to print my below pattern. Okay, now again, this is like a small understanding which we need to have is, okay, so which you all be knowing. So I'm just refreshing, or for others it could be a learning. So if you see, when I see this pattern, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 rows. Okay, then we have one, then we have second, then we have third, then we have four, and then we have five. So I have 5 columns. So how you have to iterate and get this value generated, you need to make a call. Okay, so what I can see is like I understand that I need to jump, or I need to write 5 rows. Okay, and let's say if this would not have been given, so I would have to jump 4 columns. But let's say as of now, this is a scenario for us: 5 rows and 5 columns. Okay, so this will be again an example of a nested, as we have seen a nested if. In a similar fashion, we can apply the loops also nested, one loop inside the other loop, and so on, based on the requirement. Okay, so what I'm trying to write over here is for rows. As I told you, the first outer loop is for rows, right? So for rows in range of, let's say, 1 comma 6. Now one thing you need to understand is, before that, let's say I'll show you this print of rows. So indexing, so and the upper bound, I think you know this, but still, because I haven't talked till yet. So whenever we define like, okay, so whenever we define the value, so let's say I'm trying to remove this and I'm just trying to write 6. Okay, and I'm executing this. See, now the indexing is starting from 0, as I have already told you yesterday also. The indexing will always start from 0. Okay, that is the first thing. Second thing is, okay, so whatever the number which you are writing, that is the upper bound value which will not be included in your output. If you want to make that working, you need to instruct accordingly. If I want like 1 to 5, okay, so I need to say start from 1. Okay, and if I write 1 to 5 over here, so it will print only 1 to 4. The upper bound is missing, or it's not included, I would say. If you want to make that, people write code like this, 5 plus 1, or they give one extra value. Again, you will see the difference in writing the code of different people. So here I'm getting 1 to 5. Okay, so that was one thing which I needed to highlight. Okay, chalo, come back. So for rows in range, okay, okay. So now if you see, I'm trying to get rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what I will do is I will try to write one more for loop inside a for loop. Okay, that will be for columns. I will write shortcut. Okay, for call in range of my what, range of nothing but my rows. Okay, and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here I am trying to print. So we want what, asterisk, right? So what we will do, we will try to print the asterisk. See how the code works, and we will try to correct step by step. Okay, so let's piece this and let's execute this. Now if you see, I'm trying to get the asterisks. Okay, but all the asterisks are in a new line. If you remember yesterday's, I have told you about the print statement. So the print statement has a new line character. Now here I want to omit that new line character. So what I'll have to do, I'll have to give a empty space. And now I'm executing this. Okay, now it is coming like everything in one line. Okay, chalo, I have eradicated one step. Now if you see, when for I in range of 1 to 6, so here 1 is coming, right? And then it will be 1 over here. So for call in 1, so ideally it should print 1, and then it should go to the new line. For the second time, it will be 2. So here I'm getting 2. Here I'm getting 2. So in this I'm getting 2 value, and this should be printed twice, which is nothing but this. Okay. So after every for this iteration, what I have to do, I just simply enter a print, let's say a blank line, a blank statement, so that it will go and it will just print that, and it will take me to the newer line. Okay, so again, like how you write your loops, okay, how you identify the conditions, and how you write the logic, it will be always on those permutation combinations. Okay, yes, no, getting,
Yes, Steph.
okay. I think for loops are sufficient. I think we should make a progress now. I think like sufficient scenarios I have shown in for loop. Let's take a while loop now. Okay, let's understand while loop. So as I told earlier, so I didn't tell earlier, sorry. So the while loop is also known as the while. So the while loop, I can say is also known as pre-tested loop. Okay, which means that the condition is evaluated first. Okay, so in general, a while loop allows a part of the code to be executed, okay, as long as the condition is true. It can be viewed like as a repeating if statement. Okay, so the while loop is mostly used in the case where the number of iterations like are known in advance. That's how you make a differentiation between a for loop and while loop. Okay, how the syntax will be going in a similar fashion like your while or if, sorry, for or your if, so it will be while. Then you'll have to test your expression, whatever the expression you are writing, you'll have to test that. Okay, and finally you'll have to write your statements. Okay, so this is how it would be. So let's try to see a couple of scenarios on while loop. Okay, let's start with a small one. Let's say if I want to print the numbers from 1 to 10, how I write for I in range of 10 and print of I. Okay, so what happens is it gives me 1 to 9 because the upper bound is eliminated. So similarly, what I can do is if I want to print, let's say I can simply write I is equals to, let's say I want to print till 5. So I can just write a while loop and I would say is I is less than or equal to 5. This condition is tested. Until unless this condition is true, I need to print that. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will just say I plus equal to 1. Or let's say I equals to I plus 1. Maybe like you will be comfortable with the syntaxes. Okay, it's just like a simple while loop just to print numbers, like how we do using a for loop. Simply, I'm trying to do with my while loop. Sorry. So let's go back and let's hit enter. Okay, indentations issues were there, and let's run this. Even this is I equals to I plus 1. I'm trying to print I. मेरा increment हो रहा है ना?
You have to print after that statement I equal to I plus 1 because I is already 5.
Print has to be after this addition.
Yeah.
But what? See, sorry, I should have. Yeah. So thanks, Preet and Saurabh. I had assigned a different. I was trying to
Yeah.
think in a different manner. Okay, no issues. That's okay. Let's go over here and let's execute this piece of code. Okay. So similarly, how I was trying to do like for I in range of 6, okay, and I'm trying to do print I. So in a similar fashion, we are trying to do the same thing, printing the numbers again, like it's indexing. So forget about this indexing. So until unless like your condition is tested to be true, your conditions would be or statements would be evaluating. Okay. So that's what you need to make understand while writing your while loops. Okay. So we'll try to see a small scenario on when we are trying to write the break statement and without break statement, which we have written a little while earlier with the for loop. We'll try to write it the while loop. Okay. So let's use this same piece of example. Let's do Control C and let's do Control V. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to write I equals to 1. Okay. So I is less than equal to 5. Okay. And I'm printing this. Now what I'm trying to say over here is 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm just trying to write some, if I equals to 4, okay, so let's say all indentation are like, it's better to write directly on, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here I'm trying to write a break statement, okay, again, like it's all on the requirement. As the control is in my hand, I'm trying to write wherever it's coming to my mind, okay, so it's not that like I'm making a sense, but again, like it's where I'm trying to get. So while loop is exhausted. Okay. So now if you see, I'm trying to make use of my break statement and also my if statement inside a while loop. Okay. If you see a little while earlier, we printed the numbers from 1 to 5. 1 to 5. What I'm saying is, if it is starting from 1, if this condition is true, printing 1, incrementing that, not meeting the condition, going back to the while loop, and so on. If when the fourth time comes, I becomes 4, 4 equals to 4, and this breaks. Okay, so this we can see without break, it will give me all this, and plus my while loop is exhausted. Okay, and if I just try to write this, Control C and Control V, hopefully the indentations looks good. Okay, so now if you see, I am trying to break as soon as my condition is setting to true. Okay, so now it's up to you, like how you make use of your break statement, your while statement, uh, or your for loops. Okay, so again, like how you make use of them, it will always play on those terms. Okay, so if you remember a little while earlier, we have we have written what do you say? We have written a table. Okay, so if you see, where was that logic? Yes. So this was like where we have printed one table. Okay, so we can do the same printing. We can do the same using with your while loop also. Okay, so again you just need to replace those things, and the same thing what we are able to do with for loop we'll be able to do while loop. The only thing you need to understand is till the time these conditions are met to true, your statements will keep on executing. Okay, so let's see one example so that you'll understand a little more. So let's say I'm trying to define a number and I'm trying to say, let's write the piece of code here only because the indentation is giving a little challenge to me. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to define a number that is n equal to 2. Okay, uh, what we will do is I need to print till this 10 statement. Okay, so after that, mm, okay, let's do one thing. So what we will do is we will try to take an output or sorry, we'll take an input and not input, we'll try to print the table. But if a user enters some number, let's say we'll try to give some capabilities to the user or to anyone. Let's say I want to enter a let's say the number is entered anything and the table is printing. As soon as the number is entered other than let's say number greater than 0, that table will print, or if it is entered at 0, that loop will stop or the I will stop. So I'm trying to define the code in a similar fashion. So for that piece, what I'm trying to do is, okay, sometimes there will be some scenarios where you will be writing a dummy condition. Okay, dummy condition 1 is always true, and 0 is like false. Okay, either you can write a boolean values true or false. How you write, again, your call. Okay, so here I am trying to make use like how earlier I showed an example of like a nested for loop. Okay, here I will be showing an example of a nested while. Let's see how. Okay, what I'm trying to say, n equals to 2. Okay, n equals to 2, and I'm trying to give a dummy condition that is a true condition while 1. Then what I'm trying to say is, let's delete this. Let's say I equal to 1. Okay, because I'll have to increment that. Okay, so for that, so I'll write one more while loop. Okay, in that while loop, what I will say, I is less than or equal to 10. Correct. So I need to do a print, and as suggested, let's use the uh, F statements which are making your life easy. So let's use that. So in this, what I would say is, okay, so मुझे n चाहिए, then I need my x, and then I need my I. Okay, and that will give me n into I, right? So n into I. Okay, so let me write the code. Okay, so I'm just trying to and I'll have to increment so that it goes on incrementing. So I plus 1. Okay. So the first value is coming over here. It is testing the condition, and I want to print this. It won't make a difference, but let's okay. Okay. Then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give a user a choice. Okay. So what I'm trying to give a user a choice. Okay. So it will print the table until unless a user enters a 0. That's what it is telling. So let's say I'm trying to give a user as a, let's say, mm, preference, okay, equals to, or let's say, uh, yeah, result, whatever the identifier could be. It's like integer, and let's use the input function. Okay, and let's for stopping, press 0, else it will print a TK. This is sufficient. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I need to write that condition. So if my result or stoppage value is equals to 0, what I'll do is simply I'll try to break this. Okay. And finally, my number should be incremented. That is n plus n equals to n plus 1. Okay. Let me view the code which I have written. So I'm assigning it to the condition is meeting. So 1, this is equal to true. Okay. It is getting incremented. Going over here. Okay. Looks good to me. Hopefully, if I get any error. Yeah. So
Would we really use of these things in Spark projects?
uh, it will be not this kind of thing we will be using, but this logic like for loop, while loop, if else loop, yes, we will be using that. Because if you
Okay.
see, like if you're getting the data, let's say you're getting a you're getting a .dat file, or let's say .csv file, or any kind of file format you are receiving from the upstream. Okay. And let's say in those files, like there are certain validations which you need to do. At that moment of time, either you'll do those validations through a shell script, or else like if you're trying to read that entire file as a data frame, and when you are trying to write, definitely you'll have to apply some conditional statements or looping. There will be requirement. So that's why you will use those things, but not these kind of things which I'm trying to show. Okay.
Okay. Oh, yeah, but validations also data frame has some like some functions, right? Why do we need a Python core programming to validate the data?
No, if you see, there is one scenario. Okay. So let's say I have a Oracle database. Okay. In that Oracle
Mm-hmm.
database, let's say I am accessing a schema, and that accessing the schema is for Botswana. And let's not talk about the project. Let's say that schema is of HDFC Bank. Okay. In that HDFC Bank, let's say there will be so many tables, right? So if you want to take those, if you want to connect that database, and by connecting that database, you just want to take only few tables. You'll not be able to do that with data frame, right? Or you'll not be able to do that with MySQL. But see again, Oracle. So when you're trying to connect with Spark to the Oracle database, okay, there will be some connectivity which you will have to provide: JDBC connection, credentials, database name. You'll
Correct.
not be able to access the table name hard coded, right? At that moment of time, definitely you'll have to think of some logic wherein I can connect to that database and get some tables named dynamically. At that moment of time, either you'll have to think in these terms.
Okay.
There will be scenarios where you'll have to use your programming construct. That's why we are seeing these programming concepts.
Okay. But not that really extensively we
Not
use.
extensively, but definitely. See, again, I wouldn't commit on that because it depends from project to project.
Okay. Yeah.
It depends. Definitely, there will be 70 to 80% of your Spark programming, you would say. But to make it happening, to make it happen, you'll have to use some underlying programming language to make it happen, right? So that's where
Yeah.
like 15 to 20% you'll have to use it. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, like we
Yeah.
have one issue, we are not getting the output. So when I'm trying to write this, so these are the values which it is not picking. Tung, tung, tung. So
I think curly braces are needed for this.
sorry. Actually, actually I am in a habitual of like writing that format. So in my projects, like we generally use that. So this is like I'm not used to. So that's why I'm making like, if you see earlier also, like double quotes, all those things, I'm not used to these kind of things. Again, like it makes like how you are able to, let's say
So
it is a
N into I.
let's cut this piece of code, let's paste this piece of code, okay, and let's execute cure.
So if we have given N into N,
will stop the kernel. I don't have to do that. So let's cut the code and maybe like stop this. And let's freeze this quickly. So let me n equals to 2, that is here I'm adding, that is incrementing. So this is the format string. Okay, so actual value, incremented value, multiplication, incrementing. Let's put this. There is some issue with the code, it seems to be. So
Seth, Seth, can you replace double quote with single quote? Single one, and ending also.
is it so?
Yeah.
I don't think.
ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए.
Yeah, I don't think that is the issue.
Yeah, I don't think so, because earlier we got the result. The only thing we changed this. So
I am getting the result.
maybe like my kernel is like behaving a little. Let's restart this a quick. That's okay. So so let's execute this piece again. Okay, so it's kernel ready, kernel started. Okay, so if you see now, if I just enter 5, okay, it is giving me 3 ka kyun de raha? Okay, so it is like other than 0 number which I am trying to end. See, it is incrementing. If you remember, n plus 1 I have written at the bottom. Let's go a little top. Okay, so let me copy this piece of code, because when I'm trying to share this, you should have this piece of code over here with you. Okay, so what we are trying to do is, okay, I'm trying to start from 2. I'm trying to print a table. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, if the user is entering a number other than 0, it will keep on incrementing, the table will keep on incrementing. Okay, and if a user is entering 0, so the table will stop printing. So here if you see, like whatever number I am trying to enter, so it is just trying to enter. So yeah, as soon as I enter 0, so it is stop. Okay, again, like based on requirement, it comes how you write your code and how you play with your code. Okay, you will get errors, you will get issues. Okay, don't worry, but Python is smart enough to give you some justification or the error pointers. Look at those error pointers and correct this. That's how the developer life is. Okay, nothing goes smooth in one go. Okay, it's always like trial and tested, trial and tested, trial and tested, and then finally we come to a conclusion. Okay, so don't get demotivated or frustrated. I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that. Definitely, it will come by time. Okay, so it just like you need to put a consistent effort. That's it. Okay, so these are like your for and while loop. Okay, so we have seen a break statement. Okay, there is one thing. Okay, so there is a continue. Any idea what does continue have?
Sir,
Continue? Yes.
uh, sorry to break the
Yeah,
flow.
sure.
I'm just reiterating one thing. N is the current value, I is the incremental value, and star one is the multiplication of these two, right?
Right. So if you see, I started my table from 2. So you could have taken user input here also, but I just hard coded it. Okay. So I wanted to print my table starting from 2. So that's why 2.
Oh,
Okay.
got.
This is nothing but, as you rightly said, it's an incremented value, and n into I. So if it is like I am printing for the third time, fourth time, this number will change based on the increment. So initially it will printing me two cut, sorry, it will be printing me 2 table. To, afterwards it will be like 3. Afterwards it will be 4, and so on. Okay. So yes, this is a number which is nothing but starting from 2 table. This is an incremented number, and this is a multiplied value. Same thing what we have written in a for loop. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you see this same thing over here, the only thing is like I've changed, like in place of for loop, I am just trying to use my while loop. And these are just
Oh,
extra conditions which I have written just to make my couple of things working. Means like I want, if a user is entering a number other than 0, keep printing the table. If a user is entering a 0, stop that table. So that's why like these two things are like extra. Otherwise this code should have been sufficient. Okay.
yes. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Sure, let's make a move. Okay, so yeah, I was talking about continue statement. Continue. Okay, now what is continue statement? So continue statement, continue. Okay, continue statement is used to skip the rest, of the code, okay, inside a loop, inside a loop, okay, for the current iteration. Okay, so what do I mean by this is, okay, so let's say if I am trying to write, let's say Sunday. So let's say the string is Sunday, Sunday. Let's write that. Let's say S equals to Sunday. Okay, as this is string, let's enclose in a single quote. So I'm trying to hover over it. Okay, let's say I'm trying to apply a for loop for I in S. Okay, I'm trying to write a if condition. Okay, if my I equals to equal to let's say D. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I equals to D, what I need to do is I need to do continue. Okay, if you remember break kya sorry, what break used to do is as soon as this is encountered, it used to means like it will be printing. If we use break in place of continue, it will give me only sun, right? But in case of like continue, it will just skip the current iteration only. So continue statement is used to skip the rest of the code. That's not a correct statement. So continuous statement is used to skip the rest of the code inside a loop for the current iteration only. Yes, I can see that. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, here when I'm trying to iterate over this list, that is nothing but sunday Sunday. Okay, as soon as the condition is meet, uh, it will skip the rest of the code for the current iteration, which means only for this iteration. It means that my output will be sun, d will be skipped, and ay. That is what I am expecting out of my continue. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's say print the statement, print, and what I will try to print, I will try to print my I. Okay, let's copy this piece, Control C, and let's do Control V. Indentations, no errors, looks good. Let's execute this. Okay, and if you see sun, okay, and let's say this right, and equals to. So if you see, I'm not able to get my d in my output. So it is skipping for the current iteration only. Okay, so Sane, and if I would have written break, it would have been difference. So use wisely whenever you are trying to use break, continue. Okay, everyone has their own significance. Okay, any questions till here? I hope things are like at least like you are able to understand, okay? Because these programming constructs will be needed ahead, okay? So again, you will see how we will write the code, but yes, these constructs will be needed. Okay, so I'll make a pause. We'll take you the recordings. Okay, now we have seen the decision makings. We have seen couple of loopings construct, that is for loop, while loop. Okay, so for into for, that is nested for, nested if, nested while. Okay, so I showed like how to write those things. Okay, now let's get started with data structures. Okay, the data structures or the different things which are available with us. So first we'll start with strings. Okay, so today I think it will be only a so strings. Okay. So when it comes to strings, okay, so we know, so are nothing but strings are nothing but characters, right? C H A R CHARACHTRS, right? Spelling is correct. Okay. So characters. Strings are nothing but characters, okay, okay. So which are in sequence, you can say, okay, and they are enclosed in single, double brackets, whatever. So they are enclosed in quotes. Okay, I'll just say that. Okay, Python allows us used to use single, double quotes. Okay, you can make use of them. Okay, now we will be seeing now the data structures we'll be trying to see in deep with the respective methods available to us. Okay, so like we have seen a little while earlier also. Let's say this is the string that is nothing but s equals to Sunday, which I have defined. You can make use of single quote or double quotes. Okay. Now, when I'll try to do a print of this s, I will get my output as sunday. Okay. And if I try to do type of a, and if I'll try to apply a print on top of that, I'll get a class of string, right? We have seen this. Now, there are certain things which you need to understand when we are trying to use Python as a programming language. Okay, so that is nothing but indexing with either your list, tuples, strings. Okay, so indexing which will come with your slicing operators. Okay, slicing, how you can do those slicing and splitting. Okay, so let's say I have a string, and that string is nothing but hello. Okay, I'm saying like this, there's a string, and that string is nothing but hello. Okay, so let's say h, let's say where is e, let's say e, l, l, and finally o. We all know the indexing starts from 0, so it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so I have written, okay, so consider, ignore this, or let's remove this. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, there is like, we have like a negative indexing also, which starts from behind. So that starts with like -1. Okay, then we have, so this is -1. Okay, this is -2. Okay, this is -3. This is -4, and finally this is -5. Okay, if you want to reference, let's say I want to find out these two characters from a string, or let's say these two characters from a string, or these three, whatever could be the scenario. Okay, you can make use of positive slicing indexes or negative slicing indexes. That's your call how you write the code. Okay, so whenever you're trying to use your slicing operator, okay, so that will be in the form of square brackets. Inside that, you'll have to specify a colon symbol. Okay, so the slice operator is used to access the individual characters of the string. Okay, we can use colon operator to access each of the values. Okay, so that's how, like, start of the value, then we have end of the value, and by default, like, it is starting from start, so that's why, like, default it is to 1, so we can do like -1, the string gets reversed, and so on. There are so many things which we'll try to see. Okay, so slicing operator, as of now, we just need to understand, and we just need to say indexing. Now if you try to do indexing, so let's say I want to find out, let's say, double L. Okay, so simply what I can do is, okay, simply what I can write is, let's say, what is the string name, let's say str. Okay, str of, I want these two, right? If I just give start from 2 and go till the third. Okay, so let's go there. So welcome at the rate 123. Okay, so let's come over here. So what I'm trying to do is, okay, I'm defining a string that is nothing but your hello. Okay, and run this. I have not printed, sorry. So let's print this str, and I'm getting that string. Okay, that is nothing but hello. Now if I'm trying to write str of, okay, so 2:3. Okay, so you always have to remember, I think I told a little while earlier also. Okay, so whenever you are trying to define some numbers, okay, whether it's in a range, if you remember a little while earlier when we were trying to see the range, okay, I was trying to tell you the upper value. Okay, so always keep that in mind. If you want this ll to be as an output, you'll have to define like a one more step ahead. Okay, so that's how, like, your up, sorry. Okay, so that's how, like, your slicing or will also behave. Okay, so keep a clear mind what you want to take, what you don't want to take, and that's all. Okay, now let's start playing with things. Okay, now if you remember, like string again, like strings are immutable in nature. Okay, so strings are immutable in nature. Okay, this means that, okay, it cannot be changed once they are being assigned. Okay, but we can do a reassignment of the same value or a name. We can do, if you remember, yesterday we have done the tuple reassignment entirely. In a similar fashion we can do. Okay, let's say for us, like the string is hello. Okay, if I try to take my zeroth index, I'll getting my h. Let's say if I want to get el, I need to write, maybe start from the first and go to the third, so that's why the upper bound will be removed and I'll be getting the first two slice or first two the two characters which I intended to get as an output. Okay, now that is the thing. Now let's understand like how we can, as like it's an immutable in nature. Okay, so if we try to give something, it will try to tell us an error. Okay, and let's see what the error is. So it will give some reassignment error, item reassignment error. Okay, so let's say we'll try to replace any of the element with, let's say, anything. Okay, so I'm just trying to copy this and I'm trying to replace this or whatever it is. So it is giving me some item assignment issue. Okay, so it's a type error, which means that your mutability is not possible. Okay, but we can completely reassign the string. Okay, so you can give a complete string to a let's say str equals to say, complete reassignment to that string is possible. We can do that. Okay, that is possible, and if you print, you'll be able to get a save. That's what we have seen yesterday also. Okay, now we cannot delete or remove characters from a string. Okay, similar to your immutability feature, but deleting the entire string is possible. What I mean to say by that is, if I just try to write my keyword, that is del, and let's say str of, let's say, 2, it will give me an error. Okay, but if I try to write del of str, it won't throw me an error. So let's copy this. Okay, and if I'm trying to delete the str, so it won't give me an error, and if I try to see str, it should not be available. I think it is a keyword, so let's do st. Okay, let's test these two things first. Let's come over here. Okay, okay, so as it's like item deletion is not possible because we know like it is immutable in nature. Okay, but if we try to delete st, so that should get deleted, and now if I try to say print of st, hopefully that should not be available. Okay, it's not defined because it's completely deleted. So because of immutability nature, we'll not be able to do, but complete assignment of the entire value or deletion of the value is possible. Okay, we can apply the same operators which we have seen a little while, yesterday, like the concatenation. Okay, so if you take, let's say, the operators which can be applied on the string. Okay, so plus. What do you mean by plus? Okay, so it is used for concatenation. Concatenation, if you remember, yesterday we were trying to do like concatenation of like my integer and my string. We were getting some error and we were typecasting that to a string and we were able to get that error. So that is nothing but your string concatenation operator. Okay, so here asterisk, if you see yesterday, okay, we were able to see this was the multiplication, right? But when it comes to string, it is known as repetition operator. Let's test it. Okay, so what I can say is, let's say print, first of all, let's define something. Let's say a equals to, let's say in single quote, let's say hello, and let's say enter, let's say b equals to, let's say world. Okay, so what we have done is we have defined two identifiers, one with a and one with b. That is nothing but hello world. Okay, So if I just try to do print of a plus b, I should get my hello world. I should get my hello world as a concatenation string. Okay, so that was nothing but your repetition. So let's say I want to repeat multiple times this word. Okay, so that's what I was trying to say. Okay, so the operators will behave differently with different structures. Okay, so that's what you'll have to understand. Okay, then you have just known a little while earlier that is nothing but your slicing operators. Okay, so it is known as slicing operators. Then I think most of the thing remains the same, and I don't see anything. Okay, let's understand. Okay, so dir of str. Let's execute this piece of code. Okay, when I'm trying to execute this small command, okay, so dir of str, it is giving me, okay, so dir of the data structure, that is string, it is giving me the all possible. See, this double underscore means it's a strong private class. Okay, as of now, don't go into that, that's not required for us. Okay, so if you see from here, we can see all the possible methods which are available with your string. Okay, I may not be able to show this everything, but again, like few things I may be able to show. Okay, if you're unsure of like anything, like what you can do is you can just copy this, and I think it should work. Let's see. Let's say help of str of this, right? Name is numeric is not defined. Let's piece this. Hmm, how to get the help of that is not able to recall. Let's give str dot is numeric. Yeah. Okay. So if you don't know what this individual method does, okay, no issues. Okay. So if you see now, I'm trying to get, no, sorry, not this. If you see, I'm trying to get related to what all the methods, classes, and objects are available with string. I'm able to get that. If you want to find out of list, just type list and you will be getting different things. Okay, see, now the stuff has changed. Okay, and if you want to find out anything which you want to know, which you're not sure about, let's say I don't know how does pop behaves. Okay, it's nothing but to delete the elements. Let's say I don't know. Okay, so you just run this command and it will give you like what is the description. Okay, so what it does, it removes and return an item at index. Okay, by default it removes the last item. So this is like a help of the command from the data structures which you'll have to know. Okay, if you don't know, you can just play with your help commands. Okay, so if you remember yesterday, I was trying to specify you. I told you like the format identifier is coming from your string. Okay, so the format method, okay, so which is available with the string object. Okay, it is always used with the output which we need to have using the curly braces as placeholders we have seen. And I showed you yesterday a couple of things. Okay, so the first one was like a plain vanilla flavor, like we used and gave. Afterwards I showed you with index, like by giving the numbers. And the third one was which I showed you with the keyword, if you remember yesterday. Like, then today we have seen some basic arguments, and I was just trying to refer some of your programming languages like C++ or Java, wherein we have like %s stands for string, which I was trying to tell a little while earlier. %d stands for integers. Okay. Then I told a little while earlier that %f stands for float. Okay. So that is, and small x and capital X. So %x and %capital X. Okay. So this is like a hexadecimal representation. Okay, not required. Not let's not go into that depth as of now. That's not a mandate. And one thing we have seen yesterday. Okay, so that is with the percent dot and the number of digits. If you recall, number of digits. When we were trying to do some like this, 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. I wanted to get my output like this. Okay, at that moment of time, we use this percent and that number of digits that floating, and here we were having that f. So what we have written yesterday, we have written percent. So how many digits we wanted? 2, and the f came as is. And that's how we converted, and that's how we converted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by specifying this, and we got the result something like 355, right? So these are like some things which you know, but again, like good to know. Okay. Now, there are some methods which are available. As I told you, so many methods are available. Okay, so we'll run through only few. Let's say str. Okay, so if I execute this, okay, so I'm getting so many. Okay, so you can just do copy paste. Okay, so let's come over here. So let's see few. Okay, so the first thing is, let's say, okay, so let's see capitalize method. Okay,
Seth, can you just type this help method in this notepad?
okay. So
The
let's say
syntax.
if you want to know anything like about, let's say anything, so you just write dir of str, or you can write dir of tuple or anything. Okay, and if you want to get help, okay, so help can be got with, let's say, if you're writing to write help, so if it is, let's say, so let's say if you want to get something of string, and let's say capitalize, so you just need to copy that, control C, and just paste this, control V. Okay, so this is how you will be getting, like, if you don't know how the command works or how the method works, it will prompt you. Okay, cool. So the name itself suggests capitalize. Okay, so what does capitalize does is it converts the first character of the string into uppercase. Okay, first character into uppercase. Let's say the string is a equals to Seth. Okay, and if I just try to write, okay, if you want to see, let's try to say old value, old value is, let's say, a, and I just need to write f over here. Okay, and what I will do is, let's say the new variable a dot capitalize method I'm trying to use, capitalize. Okay, and finally what I'm trying to do is I am trying to print. Okay, so I need to write f, and I need to say new, I need to say new value is, let's say, this. Okay, so control C, let's go over here, and let's do control V. Okay, and let's execute this code. Okay, so again, the name itself suggests a capitalized method. So it's like init cap in init in SQL or other languages. You might be having that. So it is just initializing your first character. Okay. So similarly, we have so many methods available. Okay. So we'll try to see few, and I'll try to explain. Okay. Let me know if you need practical explanation, because I'll go, because it's like self-explanatory. We have other thing like case fold, like that's what I saw a little while earlier. Case fold, count, ends with, starts with. Okay, so case fold. Okay, so what does case fold does is, okay, uh, it returns, it returns your it returns your string, okay, in lowercase. Okay, so what it returns? It returns your string in the lowercase. It is more similar to your upper, or sorry, it is more similar to your lower in other languages. Okay, so if I just try to take the same string, let's take the as is, Control C and Control V. Okay, so here what we will do, we will just replace this with Ceph. So old value will be printed in the capital letters, and we'll just replace this with case fold, and the new value should be in your low characters. Okay, so let's execute this. Okay, so how we have like upper, how we have lower, in a similar fashion we have that. Okay, then what was that? The other was count. Okay, so count, again we have in Python and PySpark also. So the name itself suggests it is counting the number of occurrences. Number of occurrences. Okay, so what it does is it counts the number of occurrences. Okay, so it has like a start position, and it takes a substring, and it has a start position and it has an end position. That's how the syntax goes, similar to your substring in SQL. So what we will do is, okay, so let's say we will create one string a equals to, let's say, Saurabh is learning Python. Okay, what I've done is I've written a small statement, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to write over here, let's say a dot count. Okay, and I want to find out how many occurrences are there of I. Okay, and let's say c equals to, let's say, a dot count. What I need to do is I need to find out the occurrences of I. Okay, but I need to start from the sixth place. Okay, so let's say d, then let's say a dot count. I need to find out the occurrences of I, but I need to start from first position and I need to go up to the sixth place. Okay, so all the different behaviors. Let's try to write a print function. Okay, let's say, and inside this, okay, so what we will say is count is, okay, and we'll try to use the curly braces, and we'll try to use b, c and d respectively. Control C. Okay, so let's give it c over here and let's give it d over here. Okay, let's copy this small statements and let's see that. Okay, so if you see I, okay, so if you see we have I over here and we have I over here, that's why we got the two occurrences. Okay, so it was telling me start from sixth position, 0 1 2 3 4 5 character is again 6, so again we got 2. So what we will do is here we will change this. Okay, I don't want to start from 6, I want to start from, let's say, ninth, because somewhere the count will vary, right? So the count is varying. See, earlier we got 2, now I am telling somewhere start from 9, so we are getting only one occurrence of I. Okay, then what it is telling is starts from 1, go to the 6. Okay, so we are not able to get anything in this. Okay, so if I say, let's say I'm just trying to change this, so let's say SS, and what I'll try to do is try to count the occurrences of A between that pattern, or between that range, sorry. Okay, so if you see, I'm getting 2 because I have that A repeated twice. Okay, so it's like a straightforward. Okay, no, nothing inside that count. Then yeah, these are very important when we talk about like when we talk about PySpark or Spark. Okay, ends with, starts with, replace. Okay, few important methods which are there. So let's see those important methods. Okay, so the name itself suggests ends with. Okay, so what ends with, ANDSWITH. Okay, so what ends with does is, okay, I think, yeah, it returns Boolean value. So ends with method returns true if the strings ends with the specified substring you are specifying. What I'm trying to say is, okay, ends with returns 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 true, okay, if the string ends with the substring you specify. Okay, else it returns false. Okay, let's test that. So what we will do is, let's try to write, let's say a equals to let's say I'm trying to write a Python word, okay, and I'm trying to say b is equals to a dot ends with. Okay, so here what we will try to say is small n. I will copy this and I will copy paste this and I will say capital N. Okay, and I will, sorry, I should say this to be C. Okay, and I'll just quickly copy these two statements just to save some time. And just forget about that count. That's not man, means like you can just ignore that, this count. Okay, so let's execute this. So if you see, it is not considering your case sensitive. That's what I wanted to specify. That was the first thing. Second thing is it is giving us the boolean values. So if it is ending with the substring which you're specifying, definitely it is giving true. What if I write with like this? Let's execute this. Okay, so the substring is available. Okay, you need to understand substring. Substring is nothing but this substring is a part of this entire string. Okay, so starts with, so fourth is your ends with. Similarly, starts with will be the vice versa of this. Okay, so I'll just starts. So starts with. Okay, I hope spelling is correct. So starts with will be nothing but starts with will return true if the string starts with the substring you specify, else it returns false. I hope you can make the changes and you can see this. Okay, there's nothing inside this to show you. Okay, if I've shown one, I think you can easily capture that. Okay, then okay, so find करते हैं क्या? मैंने देखा तो नहीं है. Find this, because we have like in Spark we have contains or else like dot get with. That's how we do in Spark. Okay, let's show this. Let's check. Let's see find. Okay, so this is nothing but your fifth one. Let's see find. Okay, so what does find does is, okay, find method, what it will do, it will find the substring. Okay, and again it gives us the character or the boolean values. Let's test it because even I'm not able to recall. So find method, okay, find method, let me just str of find. Let's execute this piece. Okay, so it is telling me, okay, so substring start and returns the lowest is where substring is found such that substring is start to end. Okay, -1 on period. Okay, so I'm assuming that it is returning me the character position, because on this explanation what I understand, and if it fails it will give me -1. Let's test this because I'm okay. So what find method is telling us, okay, find methods, okay, finds substring, okay, in the whole string. Okay, and what it is telling, and it returns the index, right, and returns index. Okay, if the string is matching, else it returns -1. Let's test this. Okay, so let's take the same uh, let's take this whatever sort of examples, we will take the same example. It has many occurrences of characters. Okay, so what we will do is, let's say the A is like Saurabh is learning Python. Okay, now what we will try to do is a dot in place of count will have to replace this. So let's say I want to find, let's say is. Okay, so let's say is 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so I'm trying to find is, and let's say we'll give one word which is not available. Let's say I'll try to give safe. Okay, I'll remove this. I'll remove this. I think these two are sufficient for us. Control C. Forget about that print statement of count which I have written. The only like highlighting, just ignore this. We will focus on this. Okay, so let's execute this piece. Zero क्यों दे रहा है? So sorry, I have not changed this. Okay, so it is fine. I should have changed that. Let me execute this because on failure, it means on non-matching, it is returning -1. So here we should have got -1. So let's execute this. Yeah, now it is getting. Okay, so the mistake was I did not write it appropriately. So a dot find, okay, is starting at 7th index. That's why I got 7th index. Okay, and this string is not available, so it was not able to find. Okay, but in Spark we have like contains method. Okay, definitely most of the time we'll be using a contains method, starts with, ends with, and dot get item. So mostly we make use of those things, but again, like, no restrictions, you can make use of Python also over there. Okay. Okay, so let's go at the top again.
Seth,
Yes, sir.
can we have an empty string, or maybe like how can we check a particular string is empty or null?
We have like is empty in Spark.
Okay,
In Python, we'll have to check that with, because
okay,
we define that with
I see.
empty square brackets, and we'll have to check. Maybe we'll have to see the count of that. I don't think so. We have is empty and not empty in Python.
Or
So
maybe like null. Suppose if I'm getting some value from a database and
yeah.
capturing it
That
in.
we will see in Spark. That we
Okay,
have those functionalities: is null, not is null. All those
okay,
things are available. Okay, because we will be playing with data, so data related everything is available. I'm just thinking in terms of
got it.
here also. I think NaN, that is not a null. I think that is available with pandas. NaN not a null, something like that, which I'm able to recall. Okay, but again, like in Spark, we have that function methods which are available to us.
Saurabh, sorry, Saif. So, is there a way method the alternate character can lower in uppercase here?
Alter and alternate. So let's say there
Yeah.
is like Saurabh. I want to make first capital, second lower, third capital. I don't think so. We'll have to use a logic on that. So what we'll have to do is mod of like that number. If it is 0, so make it to lower, and mod of that is if it is coming to 1, make it upper.
One, yeah, that one idea also in a list or the string of the list, and we can within a loop we can
Yeah, that's what I can. I means I'm able to call because I'm
yeah,
not able to call. Is there any specific function to do that work? That's what I want to specify.
yeah, that customized
Yes,
logic we can.
customization logic you'll have to write. So you'll have to see, okay, first index. You'll have to say it's if it is mod of 0 or 1, whatever. It's your call. Make it upper or make it lower.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, customization. I don't think so. Means at least I'm not able to recall. There could be, but I'm not able to recall. Okay, so find is there. Okay, so then we have like we have like if just returning just to check some alphabetic and numbers. So we have like is alpha and is numeric. Okay, similarly is ASCII, is decimal, is digit. You can check all those things. Is Leo lower, is numeric. Okay, so I'll just show like is alpha numeric. Okay, so or is alpha numeric, is alpha. You can maybe like whatever, like I can show in 10-15 minutes. I'll try to show those things, and later on like you can explore the remaining. If you are not able to get to into anything, post in the WhatsApp group. We'll try to hunt on that, and we'll try to get something. Okay, so let's see about is alpha and is al num and is al alpha. Okay, so we'll try to see these two things. Okay, what does they mean? So let's see the seventh one. Okay, that is nothing but is al num. Okay, that is but nothing but is alpha numeric. What I am able to understand, and it will able to give like my if it is alpha numeric, it will give me true, else it will give me false boolean values. Okay, so what we will do is a little while earlier we took some name, right? Save, I think. Let's write quickly. So what we will do is, let's say we will write a equals to save. Okay, we will write b equals, or let's, that's sufficient. or let's write A1 as safe, okay, and we will write A2 as, let's say, safe 1 2 3, okay, and simply what we'll say, B equals to A dot is alnum, okay, that will be copied, control C, control V, and we will just change this to C. This should have been my A1 and this should have been my A2, right? And finally we'll try to use this print statement and we'll just read, yeah, B and C is sufficient for us. Control C, and we will scroll a little down and we will execute this piece. Okay, so boolean values. So method, what is check? Let me check. I thought like it is checking like both the things. Okay, so it is like if it is alpha and numeric, any of the thing it is giving me true. If I just change it to, let's say, A3, not here. So let's go a little over here, A3, and let's say I'll try to write, let's say, asterisk. So just give me a second. And let's write control C, control V, and D equals to, let's say, A of 3, that is alnum. Okay, and let's try to print it. Okay, so I think is alphanumeric is considering if either my string could be alphanumeric, alone numeric, or both. Okay, so that's how it is considering. So if you don't want that alphanumeric, you can go to the next one, that is nothing but is alpha. That is what we have seen a little while earlier. Then is digit also is there. So we can, if you want to test only your characters, you can go for is alpha. I think we saw that, right, a little while earlier. Yeah, so if you see, we have is alpha also, and similarly we have is digit. Okay, so if you want specifically to test, or if you want out of that you just want only your alpha values or your string values, you can check that. Okay, so starts with, I have shown replace. Replace again is like one of your important method which you may be using most of the time. Okay, when we move to Spark. Okay, again, you all know how does replace behaves. It's similar to that only. So replace. Okay, so replace, what it will do is, mm, it will return, it will replace a given string, or it will replace uh, old string old string with a new string. Okay, that's what it will see, it will tell us. So what we will do is we will just try to write, let's say, A1 equals to, and we will try to write, let's say, save ram save save let's say ram, let's say ram. So this is one of the string. Okay, so again, it has like so let's say I want to b equals to a dot replace. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is, okay, I'm trying to replace. So what is the old string which I want to replace? The old string which I want to replace is nothing but, let's say, safe. Okay, and I want to replace with that, let's say, what, let's say, Amit. Okay, and finally what we will do is we will try to see that print of that b. So let's copy that and paste it. Okay, so wherever the safe was available, okay, it has given me certain, means it has changed. If you want to change from the occurrence, so let's say this is my first occurrence and I want to start from second occurrence. Okay, so I think we can give the number of occurrences here also. So let's execute this. Okay, so it's indexing 0, 1, and it is starting. So second indexing, and does it have like end position? No, if it would have been end, so 0, 1, 2, let's give save one more and let's re-execute this. Okay, so if you see now what I have done is I want to replace save with Amit. Okay, save with Amit. So, and I want from the second occurrence. Okay, so this was my 0, 1, and 2. So here if you see it got replaced. Okay, but if you see the others are not replacing. So if you want to replace thoroughly, you'll have to omit this. That's what how it goes. I think it does not have your str dot replace. Okay, so if you see again self on a copy with all occurrences, we tested this. If the optional argument count is given, only the first occurrence are replaced. That's what we are able to see this. Okay, so both the behavior we have seen. Okay, so if you're omitting the count, all the occurrences are getting replaced. But if you are giving the count, only that occurrence is getting replaced. So that's what the behavior we have seen, right? So again, one important method which I can recall is split. Okay, this will be heavily used. Okay, because we would be getting the data as a file. We will be reading that as maybe an RDD or a data frame. At that moment of time, if you want to access a particular column values and apply certain logic on top of that, okay, you'll have to make first you'll have to split on the basis of delimiter, and then you'll have to apply the logic. Okay, so the split method is a little important. So split method splits the string by comma separated by comma separated list. That's what it does. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to define a string that is nothing but, let's say, py sorry that is nothing but a Python is a programming language. I'm trying to write a small statement, okay, or a string to be defined, and str of 1. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, s dot split. Okay, and if I just try to say print of str of 1, I will get all the words separated by a comma in a list. If you remember yesterday, I was trying to say most of the things will be like returning as a list. Okay, and almost like all the functions, most of the time they will be considering everything in Python as a string. So these two things you have to keep a little thing in mind, and it will give you a little curve, or it will whenever, because when you're trying to write the code in PySpark, okay, so typecasting will give you a little trouble. If you see, now I am getting a list as an output. Okay, I was trying to apply some methods on a string, but I'm getting list as an output that is splitted with a comma separated values. Okay, and then if you want to access the element from this list, again a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3, you can apply all those things and you can make use those things. Okay, if you remember, like in SQL, we have like ltrim, rtrim, and trim functions. Okay, so similarly, we have in Python, we have lstrip, rstrip, and strip function. Okay, so let's say we have something like lstrip, then we have rstrip, and then we have strip. Okay, so it is just to remove some blank spaces, or whatever the number of, or whatever the character which you specify before and moving. Okay, that's how it will be removing. So let's say I'm trying to take a string of a1. Okay, and let's say 1 2 3, and I'm trying to write, let's say, save 1 2 3. What I've done is I've given like 3 spaces before and 3 spaces after. Okay, so simply what I can say is, like, let's say I want to print b. Okay, that will be a dot strip. Okay, and let's say print b. you'll not be able to see over here. Okay, so let's say print len of b. Okay, so I'm getting 4 characters. If you would have see 4 plus 6 here, we could have got 10 characters. Okay, if you would have just say control C and just go over here, control V, and just replace this A. So that's how like your validations you can apply. Okay, again, like as I told you, this is a little exhausted, like it is like too big list. Okay, you can go through those things. Okay, again, like if you feel like any of the thing you're not able to understand, okay, post in the group. Okay, I'll tell you what all those things were. Okay, so I'll stop here because the time is clicking for us. Okay, so we'll try to, after this we'll try to take the remaining things and we'll try to finish in half an hour. I'll stop this recording.
Sir, I'll have to log out.